to call this Middletown Board of Supervisors meeting to order. If we can all rise, Grace is going to do the honor of singing the national anthem for us tonight. So.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Grace. She always does a fabulous job for us. Roll call. Ms. Corporal.
Mr. Tosti?
Here.
Mr. Kizak?
Here.
Ms. Strauss?
Here.
Ms. Payne?
Here.
We also have Township Manager Mrs. Twillie Cools, Township Solicitor Mr. Esposito, and Township Engineer Mr. Kessler in attendance tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Corporal. Next on the agenda is announcements and special items. Letter A is the next Board of Supervisors meeting will be Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. right here in the hall. Letter B, recognition of Jim Ewens for completion of a cross-country bike ride. Tonight we're going to honor Jim Ewens. Jim is a volunteer. You can come up, Jim, if you want, to the microphone. Jim is a volunteer firefighter with the William Penn Fire Company. Every day, our volunteers do things around our community, and our firefighters are always there for us when there's a need for an emergency or for anything like that. What Jim did, though, was kind of spectacular to me because, I mean, I ride a bike all the time, and what Mr. Ewens did was just, like I said, spectacular. He did a cross-country bike ride where he started at the foot of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco on April 29th, and it ended in Yorktown, Virginia on July 4th. It covered over 3,980 miles on the bike for 90 days riding that bicycle. The cross-country bike ride took Mr. Ewens through California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and finally Virginia. The route took him through national parks, national forests, national recreations, and many historic sites. He spent many nights either in a hotel. Some people put him up during his nights, like neighbors, people from other bikes. He even slept at a few fire companies during the ride, coming back this way. If you're interested in seeing the entire journey, you can go to crazyguyonabike.com and search, either using My Jim Ewens or his journal titled, which is, If It Weren't So Damn Windy, This Trip Would Have Been a Breeze. So, Jim, we'd like to recognize you today as one of our community members, as one of our firefighters for the journey that you made. It was outstanding, and we'd like to thank you for doing that. And Mr. Ferry and Mr. Fitzpatrick has something for you. And we do too. Thank you, Jim. Next on the agenda is the Summer Rec, A Little Kindness Matters recognition. Carol Garner, is Carol here? Yep. So Carol Garner, she's a Court Creek Park site supervisor. They started something weeks ago from one of the craft summer recreations did on Pirate Week. The craft was a treasure chest the kids made. She put a penny in each chest and asked the kids to make it grow. She encouraged each child to do the things around the house, pick up lost change, help a neighbor, anything they could do to raise money that will donate to the Red Cross for help with all the disasters that are happening around us. One child even set up a lemonade stand to help. They have raised $147 so far. The fundraiser will conclude on Wednesday, August 11th, which was last week, with an ice bucket challenge at Court Creek Park 2, Pavilion 2 during camp. So we'd like to thank you for raising the money for what you're doing, and if you'd like to say a few things.
Sure. Thank you to the board, to the Parks and Rec Department for inviting us here tonight. My name is Carol Garner, and I am the Summer Rec Site Supervisor over at Court Creek Park. I have worked in this position for 10 years and do so because I love my job. This job allows me to be creative, to think outside of the box so that I can create a positive experience for the campers. Tonight I brought with me 3 of my counselors, Christy Bicking, Kaylee Lane, and Kyle Hawksmith, along with some of my campers, Maddie Wengert, Gavin Williamson Furman, TJ Wengert, and Ryder Zajac. We are here to share with you how kindness matters. Kindness is contagious. A smile, a pat on the back, an encouraging word. In our case, one small penny and a treasure chest. It all came about many years ago when I received a phone call from a company when landlines and answering machines were a thing. This company called my home many times a day wanting me to take a survey. I never answered their calls because I knew it was a spam call. After a month or so, this company mailed a letter to me explaining to me that they were trying to reach me. And enclosed in their letter was a $1 bill, trying to entice me to answer their call the next time they called. I thought to myself, I thought this was odd and made it, and paused for a moment. I thought to myself, how nice of them to send me a $1 bill, but I didn't do anything to deserve this $1 bill. And so I decided that I would not spend it. Instead, I would somehow, some way, and I didn't know how that was going to happen, make this $1 bill grow, and then I would donate that money to a charitable organization. So I rooted through my pockets, my purse, my wallet, looking for change, and instantly I came up with $5. So I grew my $1 bill into $5. Then I shared with some friends about what I was doing, and my one friend, Margie, said to me, Carol, I have all the faith in the world in you that you will be able to grow this $1 bill. And she handed me a $20 bill. Whether she knows it or not, at that moment, she gave me the encouragement and the confidence to continue on with my quest. So I continued to look on the ground and go through my pockets and save all my change. I shared this story, I'm a yoga teacher, so I shared this story with my yoga classes and my belief that the universe will always support you whenever your intention is pure and for the higher good of yourself, someone else, or the world. I would leave my classes to find money anonymously left on the front and back windshield wipers of my car. Over a period of a month or so, the $1 bill grew into $150, which I donated to a homeless shelter. So our second week of camp, I took that thought with me, and it was Pirates Week. We had the children decorate their treasure chests, which they brought with them, and I placed the penny inside of their treasure chest and told them that they had the power to grow their penny into more. But how, they asked. I told them, look on the ground, do extra chores around the house, look in your backpack or your pockets, or save the change that you get from the snack bar when we go to the pool every Friday and put it in your treasure chest. I made each kid pinky swear with me that they would take this challenge seriously. And seriously, they did. Not only did they use some of my suggestions, they took it to a whole new level. They did bake sales, lemonade stands, garage sales, and one child read a book every day and was compensated by his grandparents for each book that he read. Little by little, our container began to fill up. Joanne, our program specialist, donated 50 cents for each camper. A stranger walking his dog in the park at Core Creek in the morning saw the little container and said, "Hey, I'd like to contribute to your cause," and he handed me $20. And Mike from our DPW brought us ice for the Ice Bucket Challenge. He wanted to get in on our act of kindness. My friends, kindness is contagious. I am not only happy, but so super proud of the campers for their hard work and creative thinking that has helped us to raise $300. We are happily donating this money to the American Red Cross in honor of Detective Christopher Jones. All it took was a penny and a treasure chest to create an act of kindness that will help someone in need. I hope that you will all help me to applaud this staff, the people that helped make this all possible. My final thought is, remember, kindness matters, kindness is contagious, and the universe always supports a good intention. Thank you for listening and letting me share our story.
Make a right, tell the little dudes to go see Ed.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. That was a wonderful story, and you're right, kindness is contagious, and kindness does go a long way. So thank you for all you're doing with the kids and what you're teaching them. It's really beneficial. Last thing on the announcements and special items is letter D, the Middletown Athletic Association Under 10 softball team recognition. And we see the girls all lined up here in the chairs. Led by Coach Dennis O'Donnell, they won the District 21 championships here in Pennsylvania. After completing a 2-month regular season in the MAA in-house program on different teams, these selected girls had to try out in the heat, meet their teammates for the first time, understand each other's strength, understand the coaching philosophy and new rules, then fought through the District 21 bracket during rainstorms, excessive heat, and family holiday time to advance to the play in the district championship in Bristol Borough on July 7th. They managed to win the district championship that day by a score of 14-4. After winning the districts, the young MAA team played against sectional opponents that had more time and experience together. The true character of this team and these players came in their last game. Despite being down in score, each player kept contributing in the fight and managed to come back and show their grit and moxie in the loss. In the end, these girls taught everyone a valuable lesson, to never give up, and that is a sign of a true athlete. Congratulations, ladies, on your journey. Congratulations on your championship, and congratulations on everything that you've done this past year. We're going to line these up. Congressman Fitzpatrick, are you going to say something?
No,
He's going to congratulate you. Representative Frank Ferry, Representative Tina Davis, and Representative John Galloway all have citations for you from the State House, and I believe Senator Tommy Tomlinson also has something for you. I think before you go through, though, Mr. Caparo is going to say a few words.
I really have no words, other than congratulations. I do want to point out that the young lady that sang the national anthem today was was honored 2 years ago as a U10 softball player. She sang the national anthem then, and then Grace was kind enough to come back and cheer on her teammates here. Okay. So, Mr. Tossi, the way we're going to work it is I'm going to announce them, and then you, the young ladies, as you go through the line to get your certificates, just everybody kind of face that screen, and then after you finish, just finish facing your parents, okay? So first, let me present Joey Autumn Gross, number 9. Number 99, Rylan Webb. Aubrey Demi, number 10. Number 1, Ella Hughes. Number 42, the co-MVP, Jameson O'Donnell. Another co-MVP, number 5, Ella Kramer. Number 7, Peyton Greer. Number 32, Perry Luco. Number 8, Lily Me. Number 3, Sienna White. Number 11, Sloan Walters. Number 21, Madison Weingart. Number 14, Presley Tockerman. Ladies and gentlemen, head coach Dennis O'Donnell. Ladies and gentlemen, assistant coach Drew Walters. Ladies and gentlemen, assistant coach Colleen Perry Luco. Okay, young ladies, so we've introduced everybody. Now you're going to stand there politely because all your parents want to get a picture because this is going to be beautiful and I have to get out of the way. Our Board of Supervisors are going to get behind. You don't want to give up these things. Right there. All the players, off of my left shoulder in the back is Ashley. Ashley has some secret stuff for the players. make sure you see Ashley, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the MAA U10.
Thank you, girls, and thank you, Coach Dennis, for a job well done. We'll give them a second to clear the room. See you guys. I think it's always good to recognize our future, and them girls are our future, so. Moving on to number 3, public comment. We will now take public comment on non-agenda items only.
Andy Warren, Shady Brook Drive. I just wanted to take a minute and commend the board and the staff of Middletown. I had the opportunity to attend the Tuesday night out or Tuesday night with EMA a week or two ago. I thought it was excellent. The demonstrations were good. They had the police dog demonstration, the fire demonstrations, and I thought it was a great community evening and a compliment to Middletown Township. I also wanted to note, you were talking about bike riders. My neighbor and I were out riding a bike the other day and saw the officers on bicycles in the neighborhood, which created a number of positive comments from residents to see that, and I thought it was very good. So, great Emergency Service Week.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. And our National Night Out has grown so much since it was first implemented. I remember, and I was telling a resident that night that the first night they actually did it. There was a spot in Parkland, there was a spot in Cobalt Ridge, and there was a spot up at Community Park that they stationed at, and people came out and seen them. Then to the second year, where we only had half the parking lot, and now we're taking up the whole parking lot, and the parking in Giant is getting so full that we got a lot of overflow there. So Officer Melissa Robinson does a great job with that, putting that together along with the chief and the rest of them. So I do commend them because it was a very well attended and very well organized National Night Out. Any other public comment? Moving on to number 4, the consent agenda items. Consideration of authorizing payment of August 16, 2021 bill list in the amount of $2,167,199.82. Letter B, consideration of approving the July 12, 2021 minutes of the public meeting of Middletown Township's Board of Supervisors. Letter C, consideration approving resolution 21-23R for official sewage facility plan revisions for the Pennswood Village Health Center and Building Addition, 1382 Langhorne, Newtown Road, TMP number 22-004-004-001. Letter D, consideration of approving resolution number 21-24R for the official sewage facility plan revision of the 1010 Woodburn Road Joint Municipal Southern Operations and Maintenance Facility, TMP number 22-031-078, 22-031-079-003, 22-031-077-001, and 22031-008. Letter E, consideration of approving change order number 1 for the neighborhood sign program in the amount of $3,200 to Quality Service Plus of Bristol, PA. And letter F, consideration of payment application number 6 and change order number 3 for the Langhorne Gables Drainage Improvement Project. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Mr. Warren.
Three quick ones. Number 4, D, E, and F. On D, that's the sewage maintenance facility down by the railroad bridge, I assume.
Correct. And
as I read that in the paper, it mentioned that the average daily flow of sewage permitted was 673 gallons a day, annualized, with a maximum of 2,500 gallons. So does that mean, if it's annualized, 365 days a year, there could be 73 days of maximum 2,500 gallons of sewage, assuming that the rest every other day is 0. Is that the way that works out based on a yearly average, right?
I'm not completely following your question with the numbers there. I do know that the township submits the sewer facilities plan to the DEP. That facility is reviewed by the DEP for their proper permitting.
I guess what I really was looking for was, it's based on the outflow permitted is based on a yearly average, right? And it's supposed to be 625 gallons a day over the course of a year.
For the average, correct?
Right. So the maximum amount allowed is 2,500 a day. So conceivably, there could be 73 days of 2,500 gallons and the rest of the year 0. And that averages out to 670 a day, right?
That would be the most extreme way to average it,
Right.
correct?
Okay, just so I understood it.
The maximum usually doesn't occur that frequently.
Pardon me?
The maximum usually isn't occurring that frequently to have the average go that way, but
Right.
the average, it's a flow that varies, depending on different circumstances.
Right.
So they have a
15
maximum daily and also the average for the year.
15 employees when they're there. So, yeah, very good. Thank you. Item E, the change order for the sign ordinance or bid. The sign bid was bid June 14th, as I recall.
Probably back in June. I think
Right,
it was at our
yeah.
June meeting.
So we have and that was 110,000. So is this 3% roughly change order, which would probably be within the average?
This change order is to add 1 additional park sign, and it is to add 4 additional panels on park signs where we have to recognize the granting agencies for grants that we received on those.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yes, that same question.
And the last one, the Langhorne Gables drainage, it says change order amount you're going to approve today, number 3, but it didn't, I don't think it had an amount in it. I was wondering what that amount was. And the payment, I think you're going to approve tonight, number 6.
This was a payment, and it was for the application, and then we did a change order, I think at that same June meeting. Is that right, Ms. Tealy-Coles? Or maybe it was the May meeting, and that would have had the price in there then.
And just to clarify, the change order number 3 is not, it's a $0 change order. The change order to the contract is for the end date of the work. So this change order is actually just a time extension Due to materials delays and things that have happened during the pandemic, we've had to push the original end date of the contract
I
further.
like these $0 taxes. That's a great change order. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Warren. Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Moving on to agenda item number 5, consideration of authorizing release of a bid for the 2021 guide rail project. Mr. Kessler?
Thank you, Chairman Tosti. Before you this evening is consideration of advertising this project. Traffic Planning and Design, along with Department of Public Works, have designed the improvements of 7 locations for guide rail around the township. The improvements include replacing some older guide rails, some that's been slightly damaged over the years, also extending the guide rail for protections to meet current standards. And those locations are on South Flowers Mill Road, the southeast corner at a culvert there with Mill Creek. The second location is Big Oak Road, south side of that roadway at the culvert between Rapture Trailer and 3D Systems Drive, those driveways. The third location, there's a few on Big Oak Road. The third is on Big Oak Road on the north side at the bend on Big Oak Road there in the township. The fourth location is on the south side of Big Oak at the intersection with Township Line Road, adjacent to the railroad crossing. The fifth being Village Road, both north and south sides at a culvert crossing between Wood Duck Lane and Basil Road. And the last 2 locations are on Silver Lake Road, close to each other. One's on the west side approaching the culvert and the bend with Village Road. The 7th being on the east side at the culvert that's also near that bend. So the Department of Works is working with Traffic Planning and Design. We've been working alongside of them with survey to provide for the design. And they're finishing a few elements to finalize that, and then it will be ready to bid. So the request this evening is to authorize advertisement for that project to be bid out.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Kessler? I just have one. Out of them 7 locations, which ones are like new and which ones are going to be replaced? Do you know offhand?
All of them will result in new guide rail.
But replacing, some of them are replacing existing and some of them are putting in new ones. Do you know which ones are where we're putting in like right from scratch?
I'll defer to Mr. Ennis if there's any brand new ones. I believe they're all existing guide rail
Existing
locations.
just being replaced?
And some are being lengthened.
I can get you the specifics if you want. There are trouble spots. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, I believe that they're all in areas where guide rail exists now, but some may need to be extended to meet current,
I got you.
the updated standards for guide rails.
Okay.
Yeah, typically the old guide rail, especially at the culverts, is fairly short.
So it would be an
the current
extension.
standards is to
Got
have
it.
additional
Okay.
protection there from going down the slopes.
I'm just curious, what's the timeline for completion if the bid goes out and is successful?
I'll have to, I guess, follow up with that after talking with the Public Works and TPD. Once it's bid and awarded, guide rail installation doesn't take that long of a time. It would be a matter of defining the contract duration when we have it out to bid.
The only thing we're concerned about is the materials.
Yeah. Seems to be a problem.
If there's
with
no
it.
material problem, it could be done by the end of the year.
Okay. Any other questions?
Make a motion to authorize the advertisement to solicit bids for the guide rail improvements project.
I'll second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Next on the agenda is consideration of authorizing advertisement of a bid to replace the asphalt single roof and gutters on the barn building located within Middletown Community Park. Mr. Capera.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to brag, but I have 4 agenda items in a row. I don't know what the Guinness World Record is, but I'm going to compete.
I noticed you were up 4 times straight there.
So this first consideration is for the the barn roof, the asphalt shingles, and the gutters. We've put this out to bid twice already. This will be the third time. The previous 8 bidders, none of them met our responsible contractors ordinance, so we just have to keep putting it out to bid, and hopefully somebody that meets our RCO will comply. So without further ado, it's been budgeted for a 2021 job, and just would like to get it done this year.
Any questions for Mr. Capara? I make a motion to authorize the advertisement to solicit bids for the new asphalt roof and gutters project on the barn at the Middletown Community Park.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any board questions? Any public questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Next on the agenda is consideration of authorizing land appraisal of the 1.94 acre plot adjoining Firefighters Park. The tax parcel is 22 dash, did I miss one? All right, number 7, consideration of authorizing the Middletown Community Foundation, a 501c3, to host 2 beer gardens on Middletown Township property. Mr. Capara.
In 2019, in the before times, we had several beer gardens. They were great community events, and the township has an ordinance that prohibits the use of alcohol and drugs and a few other things on property. So we were just looking for a suspension of that ordinance 337103D for the 2 days noted, October 2nd, which is the Parkland Day at Firefighters Park, which was a fabulous day where we had about 1,000 people, and at our holiday open house, which is going to be held Thursday, December 9th this year in our parking lot.
Thank you, Mr. Capara. You're correct. I mean, I've attended the beer gardens each time they've had them, and they're well attended, and the community does like them when we do, especially when we did the holiday party. It was a really nice addition to the holiday party back in 2019. So, is there a motion? Any questions for Mr. Capara?
I just wanted to point out that we really grilled Mr. Caparo back in 2019 when we were first proposing to do this. So the lack of questions right now does not indicate a lack of interest in the safety of the community. We really put you through the ringer, and I attended those as well. I think they were very safe, very responsible events, and really fun for the community. So I'm glad they're back, and I have no questions. I will move to suspend ordinance 337-103D for Saturday 10/2 and Thursday 12/9 in order for the Middletown Community Foundation to host the beer gardens on township property.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any board questions? Any public questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Now we'll move on to number 8. Consideration of authorizing a land appraisal of the 1.94 acre plot adjoining Firefighters Park. The tax parcel is 22-020-041-002. Mr. Capara.
Yes, sir. So Comcast owns about 2 acres of property that adjoins Firefighters Park at up in the Parkland section of Middletown. It's been overgrown. They don't use it anymore. So the calls come into my office and the Department of Public Works about keeping it up, and the fence is busted and it's starting to fall down. So I had called Comcast over the last year and just offered them to buy that property. What would they consider as a purchase price? Verbally, we did agree on a price of $11,500, but in order for us to make that purchase price, we first have to have an appraisal done on the property. I did point out the property to both you and Ms. Strauss since your children were playing in the basketball league, so you had a chance to look at it for a little bit. So I think it'll be a nice addition to the park. It is 2 acres. We don't plan on, we're going to keep it natural. We're going to plant some trees and some meadow plantings, but it's just really going to take an eyesore and just beautify the park even more than it is now.
So this is just for the appraisal then?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, because I can remember, like you said, Comcast had a conversation with us a few years back where they wanted to donate that land to us. And now they are charging us. And I'm wondering if maybe if we played some hardball with them, if we can get back and maybe, I mean, the appraisal we would have to do anyway, even if they gave us the land. But if we play some hardball with them, maybe we can either get that lower or get them back to where they said they were going to turn that land over to us. So we wouldn't have to put that money in, and we can use that money to kind of revitalize that and take that land back so that we can make more open space there. But I'm in a favor of doing the appraisal, but we would have to just move forward with what we'd have to do as far as taking over the land.
I make a motion to authorize the appraisal of tax parcel 22-020-041-002 by an appraisal company as approved by the township manager and township solicitor in an amount not to exceed $750.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Agree with your hardball. They ought to give it to us.
Miss- Good. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 9, consideration of authorizing the backstop repair and installation of a higher fencing at Twin Oaks Park Field Number 1 for $11,280. Mr. Caparo, for the fourth time.
And the finale. This is a project that was definitely delayed by the 2020 coronavirus. There is the field that is right by Woodburn and Twin Oaks has a 30-foot high fence. It's got a little bit of a lean to it, so it's leaning forward. It just needs to be set plumb. And then on the left field side, a lot of balls go over the 6-foot fence, so we're going to replace that with about 80 feet of 10-foot fence in order to mainly keep the spectators safe, keep the ball from going into traffic. So these minor repairs will go a long way to making it a more safe for our spectators and for the community. We've done some work with Northeast Fence and Ironworks before. They've done some work at the Quad and at Middletown Community Park. Very happy with the quality of work that they put forth. So and as I mentioned in the memo, their quote is below the bid limit, so it was a fair price for this work.
I have a question. You mentioned the 10-foot high part. On this memo, it says it would go down the third base line.
Correct.
What about the first base line that goes out to Woodburn Road?
Because there's about 40 feet and a gully before you get to Woodburn Road, everything is fine on that side. For some reason, it's the lefties that cause the problem. I can't tell you why, but it's just like, for some reason, no issues on the other side.
And then, so this will be down the third base side, and it'll be to protect the residents there in the stands on the third base side and the Twin Oaks area by the parking lot there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to confirm, you have this coming out of the capital budget amount that's already been set aside for improvements at Twin Oaks Park, so this is a budgeted item.
Correct.
Did we contemplate that when we set that budget? Because I thought the budgeted amount was for the LED lights.
So the 575 was the total amount. It was a combination of LED lights and the flood study. So I applied for a grant. So there's going to be a couple of dollars extra in there. So it's just easier to put it in with the budgeted number.
All right, well, I move to execute a contract for the repair and installation of fencing equipment from Northeast Fence and Ironworks, Inc. in the amount of $11,280.
Second.
I'll second.
Nope. You got it, Ms. Payne. Seeing a motion and a second by Ms. Payne, is there any questions? Any questions from the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Caparo. Job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to number 10, consideration of authorizing a contract to Mercury Systems LLC of Bristol in the amount of $23,982 for the fire alarm systems upgrade. Mr. Ennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so throughout the building, the fire alarm system, we've been getting a lot of false alarms and, some bugs through the system. It's a little bit older. And at this point, we feel the best thing to do is replace the control panel and some of the equipment to bring it up to a more modern state right now and kind of just get our system back on track. And Mercury Systems is a CoStar's approved contractor. They did the card swipes for all the doors in this building, so.
So is Mercury the one who installed the original system, or will they just be doing the upgrade?
They'll just be doing the upgrade.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Ennis? I'll take a motion.
I move to award a contract to Mercury Systems LLC of Bristol in the amount of $23,982 for the fire alarm system upgrades.
I'll second. Ms. Corporal. I see a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Ennis. Number 11, consideration of authorizing advertisement of the Middletown Township Auditing Service, RFP. Ms. Bondre, I see you walking to the mic.
Yes. Good afternoon, or good evening. I'm going to actually follow suit to Mr. Capera. I have 2 agenda items in a row. So first, I'm going to be presenting the consideration of authorizing the advertisement of the auditing services RFP. So currently, Middletown Township is working with B. Bergvall Incorporation for all audit services. They're doing an excellent job. We've been working with them for quite some time now, and everything has been timely, accurate, and they know our account really well. But as best management practices is in consideration, we do have to go out to the market periodically. So we would like to go ahead and advertise an RFP because the last time we did this was in 2011. We would like to invite all qualified certified public accountants registered here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to go ahead and submit the proposal. We're going to be putting up the RFP on pen bid upon approval from the Board of Supervisors. We're hoping to put that up tomorrow, August 17th, 2021. We're hoping to get all bid submissions in by Friday, October 1st, 2021 to award at noon. And we would like to do the final award on November 1st, 2021 to give us enough time to start the audit process. It usually starts in December, where we're gathering information for the auditors to basically start the 2021 process. We're looking to do a 1-year period for the time being with the option to renew up to 5 years. There is no budget impact at this point, so all we would like is that the board approve that.
Thank you, Ms. Boundary. So we only want to do it for a 1 year with the option to add on, but it would be up to us to say yay or nay.
Correct.
Okay. I always think it's good to put these type of services out for RFPs because we can always get a better price, or maybe this company could come down some because of what we're paying them now. And to stay competitive, it's always best for us to do RFPs on these type of services. So I agree with this, and I'll take a motion unless anybody has any questions for Ms. Bondry.
I just had one more question, which is I fully agree with Tom. We've actually, since we've been on the board, done several of these RFP releases, and I feel like we almost always have gotten a lower price, and even if it's from the same provider. And that is what I want to ask about is, given this is for audit services, is there a best practice about how often we should be switching our auditing firm? Because I know we win the financial reporting award every year, and we have really high standards here. And I just wanted to make sure that we weren't over-relying on a single audit firm if there was a best practice out there.
There isn't a specific time period, but it is just best management practice to go ahead and do this. It has been quite a while since we've done it, since it was 2011. So we're just trying to follow suit with that. I do want it to make it a point. That's why I did put in the 5-year period. I think that moving forward, we should look at it at least every 5 years, just to keep up in the market.
Great. I move to authorize the advertisement of the auditing services RFP.
Second. Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Next on the agenda is presentation of the second quarter 2021 financial report. Ms. Bondry.
Sure. So, good evening once again. So, at the last board meeting, I presented to you the revenue drivers. So today I wanted to give you guys a little bit more on how we're doing as far as our financial impact is concerned based on Q2 results. Go to the next slide. Do you want me to take the clicker or do you want to? Okay. All right, so this is our overview. So as you can see, we're at 73% of our actual budget on the revenue side and 37% on the expenses. A lot of the revenue in general fund actually is the American Rescue Plan funding that we receive for COVID-19. So that is in that general fund budget. So hence the reason why we're already at 61% overall, and only 37% on the expense side. Overall, we're doing actually quite well. As far as revenues are concerned, we're coming in quite a bit on target overall, as I had mentioned at the last meeting. We have a couple of our revenue drivers that are a little bit lower that we're watching, which was local service tax and mercantile. Real estate property tax actually is doing quite well, and you can go ahead and switch. Here's a little bit more of a detailed overview, as you can see on the revenue side. Overall, we're on target, we're halfway there. And then on the expense side as well, I've just kind of given you a brief, on the expense categories where I've laid out employer paid benefits. Most of that is our MMO, which we'll pay later on in the year, so you're not going to see that right now. But and then the other pieces are the labor benefits and operating costs, which is what really puts together the general fund. Okay, as far as the capital fund is concerned, again, I've just given you a breakdown of this. Our fund revenue categories are usually grants, and then we have our interests, refunds, and just miscellaneous items that come in. We're, again, doing okay on this end. Most of our funding is through the RDA, which we're working through. As projects get completed, we request funding from the RDA, so we're just amidst that right now. As far as expenses, as we do projects, you'll see the expenses coming through. So we're not fully in there yet, but we're getting there. So here is just a breakdown. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a brief on our COVID-19 costs and reimbursements. As you know, I've been following all of our costs throughout 2020 and 2021. We have gone quite down on in 2021 on our costs, but we did have quite a few FEMA reimbursements that we submitted for, as well as through Bucks County. So I just wanted to give you guys an update of where we're at. As you can see, our total cost to date was $612,364. This includes overtime, everything related to COVID. We have up to date received $269,000. A little over $269,000 in reimbursement. And then we do have another almost $59,000 in progress that I'm working with FEMA on. And there's still about $46,000 that we're going to submit for reimbursement. So there is no end date on that reimbursement. So as we continue, if there is any other costs that come through, we're able to submit it. Again, like I said, it's gone down quite significantly this year, but we are just continuing to monitor and make sure that we're, applying for reimbursements as needed. And this is, again, separate from the American Rescue Plan funding that we got. Investments, so overall investments are kind of at, we're doing good overall, but interest rates have gone down quite a bit. As you can see, our PFM management accounts we're getting about $169,430 in interest income. As things mature, we're actually turning it into cash and keeping it there for the time being, just to have that on hand. As far as Univest, we still have our money market in place. Again, that interest rate is very low, but we wanted to keep that as an option in case we needed that cash. So it is something that we can dive into if we needed. Hence the reason why we haven't moved it out back into PFM, which is making a little bit more than the money market. Okay. Last but not least, I wanted to give you guys an update on our pension. We're doing about 2.5% on both ends. So not too bad. They're able to keep us consistent on that end. Any questions? Right. Well, we're halfway through the year. We're going to continue to monitor, our progress, and next time you see us, we'll probably be talking about budget. So.
Looks good.
Thank
Anybody
you.
have any questions for Ms. Bondry? Mr. Warren, step to the mic.
Are those slides public anywhere?
We can definitely get them out if that's okay. Yeah. You needed them.
Yeah,
If you just request them, we'll get them to you.
just ask for them.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is presentation of climate action plan. Mr. Valla. There you go. You got it, right?
Wouldn't be the last item on the agenda without a good technical difficulty, right? Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick. I'm the Assistant Township Manager. Here with us virtually is Dr. Marlene Troy. She is the Professor of Environmental Engineering at Wilkes University. She's via Zoom with us tonight. And I do want to recognize the students. They weren't able to participate with us, but there were 3 students from Wilkes University, which I'll talk about. Their names are Allie Fonts. Is actually, even though she goes to school up in Wilkes-Barre, she is actually one of our own Middletown Township residents purely by luck. And we also have Trevor Walsh and Kayla Acker-Carter, all of which are environmental engineering students. And right off the top, I do want to say that Middletown Township, as we are today, is a certified sustainable gold community, which we are hoping to turn into platinum, which is the top tier, very soon. So first question, which I'm sure is top of mind for anyone watching tonight, what is a climate action plan? I'm glad you asked. So a climate action plan is a strategic guide towards greenhouse gas reductions community-wide. If this is approved, it would become the first plan of its kind in Bucks County for any municipality to have. This plan is the product of a year-long program sponsored by DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection. They pair interested municipalities with academics from a university around the state. As I said, we were with Wilkes University, and they engage an environmental consultant, which is ICLEI, that helps us develop this plan to make sure that it both meets the township's needs and is relevant to actually reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And I do want to stress at the front end of this climate action plan is a plan. This does not itself change any policies. It simply recommends policies, best practices for moving forward, which will be discussed individually at a later date. So climate action today, Middletown Township. Probably the one that comes first to mind for most people is LED streetlights. So if the board recalls, several years ago, we rolled out an LED streetlight program. In the first 3 years to which those results are actively monitored, the township saved approximately $450,000 just by having reduced energy costs from the LED streetlights township-wide. And I do want to note that those annual savings actually offset the financing that was done in order to effectuate that program. So it is effectively a no-cost option over the course of time. In addition to that, we're doing interior LED lighting, expanding electric vehicle charging stations, and the like, with more efforts underway. I also want to talk about how this aligns with our comprehensive plan. As the board and community may recall, last year we adopted a comprehensive plan with the 4 key pillars of redevelopment and housing, transportation, recreation, and sustainability. This plan directly, of course, supports sustainability and also has additional efforts to support housing and transportation. So the development process. The beginning of a climate action plan is you develop a greenhouse gas inventory. We get real-time data. This study is based in the year 2018. We get information from our utility and service providers, water, sewer, waste management, the private companies that serve our businesses, railroad, SEPTA, as well as DVRBC does some projections for things like transportation, to help us quantify how much we're actually emitting in greenhouse gases as a community. And then we also engaged our very own Environmental Advisory Council to serve as the steering committee for this plan. And this is being brought to the Board of Supervisors as a request for preliminary approval. If that is done so tonight, the document will be made available online, here in person, and really providing an opportunity for the public to weigh in over the next several weeks before final adoption in September at a public meeting. So I want to ask just a general question for those in the room. Where do you think our emissions come from? If you were to break it into these 5 categories you see on the slide, which do you think is the largest source here in Middletown Township of emissions? Feel free to shout it out. Commercial energy. So by a hair, it is transportation and mobile sources is the largest contributor of greenhouse gases, closely followed by commercial energy, residential energy. These 3 sectors make up 95% of the emissions in our community, which makes a lot of sense, right? All of these factors are done by taking the data that we receive in real time from 2018 and converting it to carbon dioxide equivalent units. So this plan talks about how to reduce those emission sources. Our plan outlines a total of 63 individual activities, all aimed at reducing those emissions across the 5 categories we just talked about, plus a 6th, which is energy production, trying to make a positive impact in the other direction. And I do want to note transportation is the largest sector because that is our largest emission source, and I would also say probably the one that we have the most ability to make a positive impact on. So the document that you have in front of you that the public will see shortly has these symbols in it. The first 3 are impact symbols, and so obviously ranging from small to large of how significant of an impact that specific action can make, as well as 5 co-benefits. I know a common criticism of anything sustainability is, oh, it's too expensive, it's too unattainable. Every single one of the actions that we have outlined in our plan has a minimum of 1. Some have all 5 co-benefits that we outline, ranging from economic prosperity opportunities, reducing costs for either the township and or residents and businesses, fostering resource security, social equity, and the like. So the next couple of slides are just simply examples. I won't read through them, but this is how our plan is structured. You'll see a main objective, which is kind of an overarching goal, as well as additional specific actions. These are some of the 63 that I talked about that are all aimed at making improvements in that category. This is from the commercial building category. Move to the next one. This is from the solid waste and recycling category. And I do want to stress, these recommendations are provided to us by the state or by DEP, and we customize them based upon the needs and desires of the township. That customization was done by our own EAC. And the last is transportation. And I do want to note some of these transportation, specifically the ones that talk about walkability improvements, that is directly from our comprehensive plan as a priority for this township. Moving on to monitoring. A common criticism of anything that ends with the word plan is that we do it, it sits on a shelf, and we talk about it 20 years later. This comes built in with a monitoring plan. DVRPC is the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. It's the 9-county Delaware Valley area. They do regional planning efforts. They are really a leader in sustainability in this area. They conduct region-wide greenhouse gas inventories with allocations to each municipality. Those future greenhouse gas inventories, which are done every 5 years, will be the benchmark to determine how good or not good we are doing at actually effectuating our climate action plan. Next steps. So as I said, we're asking the Board of Supervisors for preliminary approval. Starting tomorrow, if that is the case, we will shout this from the mountaintops that it's available. I have it linked up, or I will have it linked up to middletownbucks.org/CAP, Climate Action Plan. It will be there for anyone to view. And if the board concurs, we will bring this back for final approval September 20th. I welcome any questions.
Not a question, but just a comment. I just want to commend and thank Mr. Valla and the whole team that was involved in putting this together. This is a really critical component of the township reaching its goals of addressing climate change on a local level. And I just want to stress something that you said, Mr. Valla, which is this is just the first step in the process. And we really need to be committed to carrying out the steps that are contained in the plan to fulfill our objectives. But thank you to you and everybody involved in putting this together.
I have a question. I mean, I don't know if you want to go back up there and answer it. You mentioned the public would have input, and I seen the link that they could read it. How would they be able to have input on the plan?
Sure. A couple of different ways. They can get in touch with me either by finding my email online. I can make sure it's posted prominently, or contacting one of you, which you can certainly send those comments to me, or coming in when we bring this up for final adoption, again, tentatively for September 20th.
Okay.
But we certainly do welcome anyone to come in advance, just because usually they're questions that we're able to provide feedback on or clarity. Just because, you know, we try to make this as readable as possible, but there's reasons why we have folks like Dr. Troy and the students who are professionals in this area to help us make sense of some of the more complex questions.
Right. Okay, and then one other question. Under the monitoring, it says it's built-in monitoring. Now, do we get results every 5 years with that? Is that how it is, or do we get it like annually and up to 5 years, or how would it be done?
So DVRPC does the study every 5 years.
Okay.
And that data is readily available for the previous ones they've done. I believe there's 3 or 4 that they've done in the previous years. That is all available publicly online.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Valla?
I just had a couple things. First, just to echo the comments of my colleagues, this is an incredibly impressive body of work. Thank you so much, Nick, and also to the Wilkes University partners who helped us put this together. I'm really excited about the opportunity that we have to try to do something about our impact on climate locally. And my first question, you already sort of answered, which was how do we really make this happen? And so looking through the monitoring plan, I see that there are some built-in steps to make sure that we, that we're really going to track this and we're going to bite off some of these actions little by little and start making these changes. So that one I think is mostly answered. The second question I have is, while I'm excited about the opportunity to make hyper-local change, obviously we all share the same climate. You mentioned this would be the first plan of its kind in Bucks County. Is there an opportunity to potentially take this to Bucks County and showcase this plan as an example of what they could be doing at the county, and maybe or take it to some of our neighboring municipalities, Newtown, Lower Makefield, Bristol? What are we all doing, and can they sort of replicate this process and take advantage of what we've done? Have you already been thinking about this, or?
Yeah, so that was the conversation early on with the EAC, especially because they said the exact same thing of, well, we can fix things here, but that is, it's a bigger issue, right? So this is actually this local climate action program that we are participating in. It's the second year it's come into existence. This is actually the mobilization of the state's climate action plan. So there is a Commonwealth of Pennsylvania climate action plan. And one of their activities is to get municipalities to create plans like this to further reducing emissions. Something that we talked about with the EAC, as well as the Planning Commission, when we brought it to them was sending this to our neighbor municipalities, which I believe Middletown is the most. Don't quote me on that. We have 11 municipalities that we border or surround, and so that's a good chunk of the county right there. Through the county consortium, we've sent the program out to everybody, every manager in the county, to notify them that, hey, this program exists. We can certainly bring this to the county. I'm not sure if counties are allowed to participate, but there are some county-wide groups that have done this program. I know Montgomery County is doing something like that right now.
That's really great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm not sure if I touched on it earlier, but I did want to add to having a structured plan like this really goes a long way when there's significant grant funding available, especially on the federal level, because they like to see that we're not just trying to shoot in the dark just to do this one thing, but it's really part of a concerted effort. And so this plan, especially being the first in our region to have it, would really go a long way in availing us of that funding.
Yeah, one idea I was thinking about, and maybe we don't need to do this, but would there be a reason or an advantage from a grant perspective of appending this to our comprehensive plan? Sort of, we could somehow resolve that this was now incorporated in the comprehensive plan to kind of hold ourselves a little bit more accountable even.
Sure. The way that I kind of like to describe this plan, so the comprehensive plan is, of course, comprehensive. It's kind of a 30,000-foot view, if you will, so flying in, a jetliner. This climate action plan is kind of like a helicopter ride. It's further to the ground. It has actionable, specific items that we can tackle. But again, it's still a plan. It's when we get to that lower level on the ground of actually mobilizing these things. It is certainly something we can make sure is coupled with our comprehensive plan. It probably isn't I would say it's probably not worth fully appending it to the comprehensive plan, but this certainly mobilizes pretty much 3/4 of what we already have in the comp plan.
Just one more quick question. So Dr. Troy and her team, I see, were involved in calculating the greenhouse gas emission baseline that we're going to use. Will they remain involved in the project as we go forward and helping us assess whether or not we're meeting our targets?
Feel free to pop on the screen, Dr. Troy. She's there at the top. I'm not sure if everyone can see her.
Yeah.
DEP will probably be the one to assist us with that. I know that they work hard about, especially in the early years after this program of bringing students in. We certainly welcome Dr. Troy's help or anyone from any university that would like to help us out. But that is something that we probably would anticipate from DEP's direction.
And I just want to add, we really appreciate this was such a great experience and opportunity for the students, and you guys were such a pleasure to work with. So we appreciate that, particularly Nick and also the EAC, and it was a great experience for the students. And I think the DP does have a program, but also we would be glad to help out in any way we can as well. And actually, we would like to see how what goes on, because I think this is a great example to learn from for others. And I think, just want to reiterate, you also mentioned about the softball players, that they are going to get recognized for the future. And I think this is another way, to ensuring that future is going to be something we want to recognize for them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Troy. Mr. Warren got a question.
Two quick things. Was that LED street light $125,000 savings? Was that the DVRPC plan with all lower Bucks County municipalities that coordinated the LED lights? Is that where that was?
So it's part of that plan.
Yeah, okay.
So the dollar-specific savings,
right?
There are monitoring plan studies that we get. That dollar
Nick,
amount,
please step to
sure.
that.
That dollar amount is specific to the township, but that's part of the concerted effort. You're right.
I'm not quibbling with the dollars. I agree, by the way, those savings probably will pan out over 12 years, is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought. The other question is this plan already paid for, or will you be voting on September 10th or whenever it was to pay for it? And either way, how much is or was it?
According to the memo I got, there is no cost except for staff.
Yeah, so the plan document itself, other than really my time as a staff person does not cost the township anything. If you're talking about actually implementing the plan, we specifically did not include, oh, that's it? Okay.
I just have a quick question, Nick. So I know that it says here the monitoring plan is to assess every 5 years. Leading up before that, is there any smaller assessments and ways we can monitor to get some feedback before the 5 years, just so we know we're on the right track and kind of give us some motivation to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. So DVRPC's last greenhouse gas inventory was 2015. Now, whether or not they'll do 2020, just because it's kind of a funky year in terms of how we, lived our lives, that's for them to decide. I haven't heard whether or not they'll do that yet. Since we did 2018, we're pretty much right in the middle of those two spans, and so whichever is next, it could be 2021 they decide to use. We can certainly, at that time, take a kind of a temperature gauge. Mm-hmm.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? And I'll give you a chance. We're good?
You're not adopting it tonight, you're doing it on the 20th.
Right. Seeing a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Valla. Next on the agenda is other public comment. Mr. Kessler.
Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Esposito.
I just want to announce that the board held an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss some employment and litigation matters.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Ms. Teoe Coles.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Kizak.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Strauss.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Quirple.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Payne.
Nothing.
And I have nothing either, so we'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.